Good morning, sisters. It's me, Melly, founder of Sisters with Invisible Scars, coming to you after a nice long 2 or 3 week sabbatical from doing Talk About It Tuesday. I'm going to keep it short this morning and I'm just going to be completely transparent. There's something about the way that we've been raised in our culture as women that has shown us that we always need to put someone else before ourselves. It's our husband, it's our children, our mothers, our fathers. Somehow we manage to pick up along the way of life this ability to place ourselves on the back burner and continually pour into our jobs or our part in supporting our family. Some of us started working when we were 14 years old so we can put food on the table, help put food on the table because we were being raised by a single parent. And so that has become the most important thing. I've got to go to work. I've got to go to work. Some of us were teenage parents like me. Those both apply in my life. So I came from a situation where my mother was a single parent trying to break the cycle. She was the first woman in our family to graduate from college. And my brother was 7 years younger than me, and I was 7 or 8, 9 years old. So guess who had to pick up the slack where she was not able, when she had to focus on the A's that helped her to become valedictorian? Me. I was making, toast with cinnamon and butter on it and, rice from the night before. I'd take it and throw some milk on it and throw some sugar in there and some butter, and that was lunch or that was dinner. Some of us were that child that had to raise our sibling. I went straight from that to raising my own children. So I come from a place where I have always been in the background. Some of us have heard that term, children ought to be seen and not heard. That's the stupidest thing in the world, because you take a child's voice away. You raise a child to believe that their voice is not important, that their voice does not matter. Some of us have been raised in situations where our parents, we were latchkey kids and we were home by ourselves. But even in being by yourself, by the time mom got home, that house better be clean. You better put some dinner on the table. You better have washed all your clothes. These are all good things, but there's some balance. These things teach you how to ultimately take care of your own households in the future, but at the same time, there has to be some balance. Some of us may come from situations where we have been manipulated into feeling guilty for saying no, for saying, I just need some time alone. Oh, that's just selfish. You're just being selfish. Wow, you're just so selfish. Let me tell you something, woman of God, amazing, beautiful sister. You needing time by yourself to regroup, to hear from God, to be still, to let Him fill you with whatever it's going to take to get through this valley experience you might be facing, or, to hear from Him on wisdom and direction on how to guide your family, or how to lead, how to support your husband, or how to support your daughter or your child. Sometimes you need time by yourself. And it is not selfish to take that time. Even Jesus got away from the crowd that consistently pulled at Him for a word. He had to get by himself to be still and hear from God sometimes. And I am telling you, it is absolutely necessary, especially when you are going through a valley experience. What is a valley experience, Melly? Well, you have those experiences in your life when you are high on top of the mountain. And then you have others where you're seated in the valley and all you can do is look up and say, Lord, can I really make it up? Can I take another step? Many of you know that I am going through a valley experiences, and I won't say many, that's not true. I would say maybe 5 people know what I've been experiencing in the course of the last month or couple of months or so. Huge, major life transition. The type of transition that makes you feel like you've lost a limb, or that you have just, you don't know which way is up. There are things that can happen in your life where you just be like, okay, what just happened? When you have a car accident and that car finally stops moving, you have no wherewithal to determine your direction. You're looking, you might be upside down, you might be right side up, cocked to the side, you might be leaning on the side. You don't know where until you get your bearings after the tragic or that trauma of that impact. And I had impact. There was some impact that has happened in my life here recently, and I decided that it is okay to take some time for myself, to pour into myself and to be still and let God minister to my heart, my hurt, my pain, so that I can get direction, wisdom, and guidance on the next move to make without it being some sporadic, impulsive move. I had to hear from God. And sometimes you can't hear from God when you're supporting your husband full time. You can't hear from God when your mindset is completely, oh, the kids. You can't hear from God. I mean, sure, he can speak in a still small voice and give you direction in the midst of things. Yes, of course, the Holy Spirit can get to you through your busyness. But when you're busy, the risk is you're going to miss out on that word. You're going to miss out on that direction, that guidance. And so I just had to take some time. And I was talking to a good girlfriend of mine, my sister friend. I adore her so much. Contessa, I just love you, girl. We're talking about 30 plus years of friendship, y'all. Sisterhood. And I was telling her, I said, sis, she said, I noticed you hadn't been doing the Talk About It Tuesdays. I said, sis, I am in an emotional, mental, and physical ICU. I have checked myself into an intensive care unit, and I am mentally and emotionally and physically, that's where I am, and I'm not taking any visitors right now. And I said, sis, we're both nurses, and I don't know if any of you have ever been in the ICU, but when you are in the ICU, you don't have no visitors, maybe one. There is no phone in the ICU. They don't let you have your cell phone in the ICU. You don't need it. You need to be cared for. Every resource in the ICU is dedicated to the health and the wellness of that patient. And it is a very still and quiet place, the ICU in the hospital. If you've ever visited anyone in the ICU, you know it's still, it's quiet, it's sterile, it's still. That's where I needed to be. I wasn't taking any visitors. She said, but Melly, she said something so profound. She said, you got to take it a step further. She said, before you head into ICU, oftentimes you have to go into the OR. Because I told her, I said, I am hemorrhaging, emotionally hemorrhaging on the inside. There's internal bleeding. And she says this, we suspect internal bleeding in medicine, the first thing that they do is they take you into the OR. And if they have to do exploratory surgery to find the source of the bleeding, so that they can make a plan of intervention to stop the bleeding, cauterize it, seal it up, and then give it time to heal in the ICU. She said, you first have to go through that OR. I said, you know what? I'm in the OR, girl. This is where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm in the OR. It's sterile. Let me tell you something. Let me give you the audience of who's in the OR. In the OR, there's the physician who is working on you. There is the nurse who's documenting and assisting. There may be a second hand, where there's a doctor who's assisting. There's the anesthesiologist who is keeping you from feeling the pain while they're digging down and looking for the source of that bleeding. You have maybe 5 people in that OR. There's no coming in and out. There's no allowing, they're completely dressed. We are completely dressed in our garb, and you ain't nobody breathing on the incision. All of this is sealed up. We're all sealed up. Even the patient at times has a mask on to protect while they're going in and looking for the source of that bleeding so that they can cauterize it, stop the bleeding, seal it up so that it can be healed up. And sometimes in life, when we are going through emotional upheaval, we need to set ourselves apart for a time to hear from God. No visitors, no phone calls, none of that. And so that's where I was for a while. I will no longer apologize or make excuses for needing to refill myself so that I can do what God has called me to do. I'm not going to apologize for not having done Talk About It Tuesday, because at the end of the day, when you need to be refilled, when you are walking or running on E, hear me, sister, when you are on E and there's no one around to pour into you, you need to shut service down for a season and pour into yourself, or let God pour into you. Allow God, read his word, listen to his scripture, listen to the gospel. Do what you got to do. Meditate, cry, scream, and let that be your refill. Sometimes we just need a refill. And I hate it when women say, or when I hear a woman say, I just really need some time to myself, but I feel guilty. I used to feel guilty about taking a bubble bath and staying. I couldn't even stay in there. 2 minutes was too long because I felt like, what if somebody's calling me and they need me? And I'm in here taking a tub, a bubble bath. How dysfunctional is that? What's wrong with taking a bubble bath? My therapist challenged me to take a 5-minute bubble bath. I thought I was going to lose my mind in the tub. This is just crazy. I got to get out of here. I got this to do. I got that to do. I got to go here. My husband need this. I got to cook this. Whoop. 5 minutes. And I couldn't do it. 2 minutes I got to 2 minutes and I was losing my mind. And I was feeling, she said, and take note of what you feel when you're in there. I felt guilt. I felt anxiety. I felt like I was being selfish. Somewhere along the line in my life, and I know just who said it, someone told me that I was being selfish because I needed to take time for myself. Oh, that's just selfish. We're not here for ourselves. True, indeed, we're not here for ourselves. But you can't be there for nobody else if you're not pouring into you. If you find yourself in a situation, in a scenario where one day you wake up and you just say, I am on E. You know when you're on E. You know when you're out of fuel. But you have this laundry list of things to do and people who need you in that day. And you have nothing to give and nobody's pouring into you. I admonish you. I urge you. I'm just getting to this place at 43 years old where I'm like, I don't give a I'm going to take me some time for me, because if you can't refill yourself or let God refill you, what are you going to give? What are you going to give? So I'm asking you today, and we're going to talk about this. Have you ever been made to feel selfish for taking time for yourself? Have you ever felt like you were just on E, but looking at that laundry list of things to do with people who needed you in that day and in that time and in that season, refused to place yourself on the front burner and place yourself on the back burner, decided to place yourself on back burner so that you could be there for your husband, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your coworker, because she's not feeling well, so you're going to take the shift. This your off day. That's time that you designed in your schedule for yourself. Sure, they need help, but sometimes you need to recharge. And I'm going to tell you something. Come out of that OR, when I had my major brain surgery, I went through that entire process. I went in, I was prepped. I went into surgery, major brain surgery, lasted 6-7 hours. I came out and I was placed in ICU. I was placed in ICU for days. I was in the hospital for a total of 10 days. But after coming out of that sterile environment where they had to go into my brain, they then shifted me to the ICU. In the intensive care unit, there's really no one there, but the one person that they may allow, depending on your illness, depending on how critical you are, you may or may not have permission or access to have a visitor in the room with you. So that was my season. And that is where I found myself in this last month. In this last month, since August the 7th, I have gone through something that has been challenging, emotionally draining, that has the potential to make you crazy. Sometimes we go through an emotional trauma that can really stifle you to the point where you just don't even know what next step to take. And I challenge you right now, if this is you, if you are going through the loss of a job, loss of a career, loss of your husband or, your spouse, your wife, there are some, LGBs, if it's your wife that you are breaking up with, relationship failure can feel like an amputation. And you have to literally go through a therapeutic phase, this therapy where you learn to walk without that limb. And it's not always easy. It's definitely not pleasant. And you are not the only person who feels it. The entire family feels the loss of that limb. They have to watch the one that they love try to learn to walk with one leg. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. God is so faithful. You never are without a limb. He is all that you need him to be. He is everything that your spouse was, wasn't, and is to come. Period. And I admonish you, if you find yourself going through a situation like that and you feel like you need to take some time to yourself just to step back and evaluate some things, don't let anybody make you feel guilty for doing just that. You are not selfish. If you are a mother of children and you have gone away to another state for a season, or you have gone away to the military or to school for a season and you've left your children with their daddy, don't you dare feel guilty. There's nothing selfish about that, because at the end of the day, the first ones on the front line to benefit from you stepping away from your life and from your children to better your life, they're going to be the first ones on the front line to benefit from that. How dare you feel selfish? How dare you feel guilty? Because if truth be told, everything that we do at the end of the day has something to do with benefiting someone else. That's just how we're made. We're just wired to make sure that everybody else is okay. But I admonish you today, in this Talk About It Tuesday, I want to talk about this. I want to really just get down to the bottom of, why do you feel guilty when you're taking a bubble bath? Why do you feel guilty when you want to go out on a cruise by yourself? By yourself? Who does that? You going on a cruise by yourself? Yeah. What's wrong with that? Nothing is wrong with that. Why do you feel guilty when you buy yourself flowers? Oh, you so conceited. That is, who does that? Buy they self flowers. Belly. Why do you feel selfish or guilty when you turn off your phone? Or when you don't respond to a text in 20 seconds flat? And then you get this text back like, oh, you ignoring me? Nigga, you just text me 2 minutes and 20 seconds ago. I mean, I know this is the age of information and everything is right in your hand, but can I get a minute? Maybe I was on the toilet. Maybe I was in the shower. People want you to be there at their beck and call every minute, but I admonish you and I encourage you, sister, Take time for you. Take time for you, because you cannot pour from an empty vessel. You just can't. It's impossible. When you turn an empty cup upside down, ain't nothing coming out but a couple drips, and then look, done. Ain't nothing else in there. Ain't nothing you could do. You have to go back to the source to fill it up again. And if God is your source, you can't hear God when you got a million people behind you talking about what they need. Get by yourself. Get by yourself and do what you need to do for you. Now, I will say this. There have been times in my life, there was an entire season, I think of my whole life. This is brand new for me to be able to actually get by myself and enjoy being by myself. Some people are afraid to be alone. The silence is too loud. When my nest first became empty, I was like, Lord, I need a cat. I need something else in here breathing with me. This is too much. A dog, a puppy, a bird. Because I had gone from being, a second mom to my little brother during his younger years and my younger years, to my mother marrying and the family becoming blended, where I became the oldest of 4. Now I had to take care of their needs. I cooked, I cleaned, I did everyone's laundry, including my stepfather. And then I had a child of my own. Then I had a second child of my own. By the time I was 18, I was in my own apartment with 2 children. I have never known what it was like to be by myself. And I understand that it can be scary as hell. Yes, I said hell, because it's a very scary place to be. It can feel like hell when you don't know yourself, because you've always put yourself on the back burner trying to please other people, and your identity has become who you are to him, who you are to her, who you are to them. And you have no identity for yourself. You've never taken 5 minutes to get to learn you. So when you see a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and there's nobody behind you but God, it's like, whoa, this can be scary. And I get that. But I challenge you and I admonish you to press through that so that you can see the beauty of who you are. And let no one, not your mother, not your father, not your pastor, not your first lady, tell you that it is not the will of God to get by yourself during a time when you need to be refilled, when you need to be refueled. If you keep driving your car without gassing it up, I promise you it's going to leave you on the side of the road. Not because it doesn't love you, but because you are pushing it past its capacity to serve you in the way that it was manufactured to do so. It's no different with us as humans, as women. I'm admonishing you. Let's talk about this. Oftentimes I do a talk about it Tuesday and people don't talk back. I'm asking you to talk back to me because I have emerged and I am emerging with transparency and I'm going through it and I'm here and you're here. So you might as well talk to me. Have you ever felt guilty for putting yourself first? Have you ever felt like you were made to feel selfish for putting yourself first? How did that make you feel? Did it make you feel guilty? Did it make you feel anxious because you felt guilty about not putting about wanting to put yourself first, and now you develop anxiety because now you know it's not acceptable to put yourself first, to take yourself away from a situation and be by yourself? And now you get anxiety because you have to show up, because if I don't show up, I'm selfish. And I don't like how that makes me feel. Now I feel guilty. And then the anxiety comes on. And then next followed by depression because you can't get on time to yourself without feeling guilty and selfish. Sis, I love you. That is my time today. I may have gone over, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about. It's an epidemic, especially with Black and Latina women. We are everything to everybody in the family. And it's BS. It's BS, and sometimes you have to really just pull away and pour into yourself and not feel guilty or selfish for doing so. If no one has told you today that they love you and that you are amazing, that you're special, that you are called, that you are awesome. I will be the first to tell you, you are all of those things and then some. Take some time today. Buy yourself some flowers. Go drink a cup of coffee by yourself. Turn off your phone. Turn your phone off. Unplug. And do you. Refill you. Let God refill you, speak to you, guide you, give you wisdom. Sometimes you need to be in a still, small, quiet place by yourself to hear that clearly. It's Melly. Love you. And remember, I always tell you, healing is a journey. It's not a destination. Stay the course with me. Talk to me. Talk to me on this Talk About It Tuesday with, on the topic of ministering to yourself. Talk to y'all soon.